Then on January 6th, we relied on law enforcement to save our democracy.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction.
On January 6th, we relied on law enforcement to save our democracy. What on earth happened?
We saw what happened. The Capitol Police, the D.C. Metropolitan Police, other law enforcement agencies were attacked and assaulted before our very eyes, speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized.
You are fake news.
They were speared. This is a problem with political rhetoric. You know, you just have to drive the point home so many times. It uses a million synonyms of the word attacked and speared. Speared? They brought their lances, did they? Came charging at the police on horseback. They were speared, tarred, feathered, hung, drawn, quartered.
And lives were lost. And for 3 hours, the defeated former President of the United States watched it all happen as he sat in the comfort of the private dining room next to the Oval Office. While he was doing that, brave law enforcement officers were subject to the medieval hell for 3 hours.
Medieval hell? Medieval hell. God, wow, what a time to be alive. Medieval, he describes it as medieval hell for 3 hours. Was it medieval hell or was it a riot? Bit of a riot. Some people broke into the Capitol building in Washington. It wasn't good. You know, I don't want it to happen. I'm just saying, was it medieval hell? I mean, medieval hell. Like, and how do you describe the Black Lives Matters protests and all of that stuff? I know I sound like whatever you want to call me, but what do you make of this, right? $2 billion worth of damage. Between 20 and 40 people died in a 14-day period. Thousands of cops injured, about 1,000, not sure how many times. 2,000 different cities. State police departments were burned to the ground. Shops, businesses, homes burned to the ground. Was that medieval hell? Or only the Capitol riots were medieval hell? None of that was medieval. I guess not, eh?
Dripping in blood, surrounded by carnage. Face to face with crazed mob that believed the lies of the defeated president.
Which were largely peaceful demonstrations in the face of law enforcement. It wasn't until night fell that things began to get a little bit more contentious.
The police were heroes that day. Donald Trump lacked the courage to act. The brave women and men in blue all across this nation should never forget that. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-cop.
You can't be pro-defund the police and pro-cop.
So we've been talking about defunding the police.
There's some issues that we ask police to do, like mental health issues or policing in schools and all the rest, that perhaps we can shuffle some of that money around.
Suck it up. Defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police.
Mayor Eric Garcetti saying, take some of the money from policing, about $150 million.
I applaud Eric Garcetti for doing what he's done.
Not only do we need to disinvest in police, but we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
So yes, defund your butts. Defund you.
Yes, I support the reallocation of resources from NYPD.
We will be moving funding from the NYPD to youth initiatives and social services.
They are talking about reducing the allocation of resources to that department. And I think every single city in this country ought to be thinking about the same thing.
Yes, I support the defund movement. I'm for responsible reallocation of resources.
And defund the police.
I think you do all those other things, you don't need all the money that's going to the police department. So yeah, I mean, the spirit of it, I do support that.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of us were asked if we could imagine a future without police back in 2017 when we were running for office. And I answered yes to that question.
We are going to reduce funding in the police department and redirect that money.
There's no reason the police budget should just keep growing and growing and growing. They can make sensible cuts to policing.
We propose to redirect over $7 million from the Police Bureau.
That our city, through our city administrative officer, identified $250 million
in cuts.
Rashida Tlaib tweeting, no more policing, incarceration, and militarization. It can't be reformed.
When they're saying defund the police, what are they saying? They're saying we want fundamental, basic change when it comes to policing. And they're right.
We are reallocating funds.
The police department here in Minneapolis needs to be dismantled, and we need to start anew.
In some necessary cases, completely dismantling those police forces.
Police departments are taking a sizable amount of the budget of a lot of municipalities and other entities. We need to look at those budgets, pull some of the money back, and invest it in other things.
We are committed to shifting resources.
Our calls to defund the police have been met with resistance.
To stop investing so much money in this militarized police force and instead invest in the things that our community really needs.
Yes, I support a radical reimagining of community safety and public safety.
I do believe that we need to reallocate resources away.
And will this involve cuts? Yes, of course, to every department, including the police department.
And so when we dismantle it, we get rid of that cancer.
When we said defund the police, the world woke up.
I really love that Black Lives Matters and other protesters have put this front and center.
And it goes on like this.
You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-democracy.
You can't be pro-violent protests and pro-democracy.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
I will go and take Trump out tonight. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Chappelle Nadal voiced her frustrations in a Facebook post Thursday morning, and when replying to one of the post's many comments, she said, "I hope Trump is assassinated."
No. When they go low, we kick them.
Everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
They asked me, would I like to debate this gentleman? And I said, no. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Fascinating. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-American. There can be no greater responsibility than to do all we can to ensure the safety of our families, our children, our community, our nation, and our law enforcement officers. I will always meet that duty.
Well, you say it'll always be your duty. I mean, I guess what you mean is when you're in power, right? Because the last year of Donald Trump's presidency, the Democrats, as we just saw in the video, completely and 100% supported violent crime and violence of all kinds on the streets. Actively encouraged it, called for it, you know, the same thing that you're accusing Donald Trump of in the Capitol Hill riots case that's going on at the moment. And you supported it to such a degree that violent crime rose by 28.64% from 2019 to 2020. That's rapes, murders, and assaults. And that increased by nearly 30% across the country in that final year of Donald Trump's presidency. But of course, that was all, for the greater good. It was for a good cause. And of course, once he got into power in January 2021, all of that went, it increased by another 5%. Right, so I guess we got to wait till 2022 because I think things are getting better now. Still got another couple of years.
Just as you do every single day as members of a critically important organization.
So what should we take away from today's video? What is the moral of the story? I think for me, it's that what I've learned is that some of us like Trump, Some of us dislike Trump. Some of us think that Trump was wholly responsible for the Capitol Hill riots. Some of us believe he was in no way responsible for them. Most of us are somewhere in between, right? But what you should take away from this video is that the Democrats are a husk of an institution full of narcissistic, self-serving, disingenuous, cynical twats. And that is a fact.